A lot of different prediction centers under that INSEP umbrella we talk about today. It's about the Weather Prediction Center.
And they're responsible for a lot of different things. Last week we talked about the Climate Prediction Center with those much longer range outlooks in the weeks, months, and even seasons into the future. Weather Prediction Center really focuses on the next 7 days. And they have a lot of different products, but they're co-located with the Climate Prediction Center, a few other NSEP centers at College Park in Maryland. With 30 to 40 forecasters at the Weather Prediction Center, they have 2 branches, forecast and operations, and development and training. And these are a short list of some of the products that they're responsible for, and we'll go over them here in the next couple of minutes. So first, drawing surface analyses. They do this every 3 hours, where they're drawing cold fronts, warm fronts, stationary fronts, occluded fronts. Cold fronts, you have the cold air coming in behind that front. Warm front, warm air moving in behind the front. Stationary, there is a boundary because of wind shift, converging winds, differences in temperature. Occluded front, that's when a system is really late in its life cycle and really well developed and mature. And then you can also have these other symbols on these surface analyses that they draw, squall lines associated with thunderstorms, as well as dry lines and troughs. So these are drawn by hand, and that's where we get our areas of low pressure, high pressure analyzed just based on surface observations. This was the 1 p.m. surface analysis from the WPC. They collaborate with the Ocean Prediction Center and the National Hurricane Center for these, because the fronts don't just stop over land, they continue over the oceans, and with tropical seasons they need to analyze where the hurricanes and tropical cyclones are. But we can translate those into our graphics and plot the surface analysis across the country right now with areas of high pressure, generally calm weather, areas of low pressure, the storminess, and then the fronts associated with them. Right now there's a pretty big outbreak of severe weather across parts of the Ohio River Valley associated with that stationary front and area of low pressure. Then from that current conditions of the surface analysis, they produce short and medium range weather and frontal forecast over the next 3 days. And these are really easy to understand snapshots of the projected weather over the next 3 days with areas of rain and thunderstorms, and then even projecting that into the next 7 days with the fronts and areas of high and low pressure. Next, they forecast precipitation. So they have these QPF forecasts, quantitative precipitation forecasts. They issue these 2 times per day for the next 7 days at various intervals. They can adjust certain areas by hand, and it's a whole blend of models that goes into these QPF forecasts, as explained by Allison, who's a meteorologist at the WPC.
So it's kind of our job to analyze those models, decide which ones we like, and then we have specialized blending tools at WPC that we use to kind of be able to pull in any of those models. We can tweak individual percentages of which models we like.
So it's a bunch of different forecasts that get blended into just this one product that we show on air oftentimes for the next, let's say, 2 days or next 7 days all across the country. And they can adjust those regionally or based on biases with the models or certain trends that happen when certain patterns are in place across the nation. The next product that they're responsible for is the excessive rainfall outlook, or the probability of seeing flash floods. And it serves as a basis for flood watches and flood warnings, which are decided by the NWS offices, the Weather Service offices located all across the country in each region. So for example, today, Nashville, Tennessee is under the gun for this moderate risk of seeing excessive rainfall, and that means a good chance of seeing flash flooding. So this really hones in on that forecast of why does it matter that we're getting a lot of rain in a certain area, and Allison will explain that.
Why does the 3 inches of rainfall that we're forecasting, why does that matter, and what are the impacts of that in terms of what kind of flash flooding are we expecting out of that amount of rainfall, which of course varies no matter where you are in the country based on a number of factors.
So it's a 4-point scale for these excessive rainfall outlooks, from marginal, where there could be some minor areas of flash flooding, but it's not expected to be widespread, all the way up to slight, moderate, and then the rare high risk of flash flooding, where they're expecting widespread flash flooding, and there's going to be possibly some pretty big impacts to travel, services, and possibly some fatalities associated with these flash floods, because the high risk is, again, that highest level category. So in the big picture, these excessive rainfall outlooks orient people for the potential of seeing that excessive rainfall or that flash flood potential. Where is the risk higher? And it describes that probability of seeing rainfall exceeding flash flooding guidance within 25 miles of each forecast point there. And the reason why that high risk is really important to be aware of is because they're only issued on about 4% of days throughout the year, but the high risk days have accounted for 1/3 of all flood-related fatalities and 4/5 of all flood-related damages. And they're most common, those high-risk, high-tier days on that excessive rainfall outlook across the deep south, Gulf Coast, where you see a lot more moisture there, not really as common as we get into our region here in the northern plains. Then, on a much shorter time scale, they issue mesoscale precipitation discussions, and these are for the next couple of hours where they're really honing in on areas of flash flooding risk because of training thunderstorms. Let's say thunderstorms moving over the same area in a constant line. Area of moderate to heavy precipitation is really just staying over the same area, and that'll lead to probably flash flooding that will be imminent. Then with winter storms, this is one of the other desks that they have at the WPC with the Winter Storm Severity Index, combining a bunch of different indices or different variables together to create this more one-look graphic of how impactful will a winter storm be. And finally, you probably see these graphics that we talk about during the winter time, the probability of exceeding a certain amount of snowfall. So all of these different products, they're fine-tuned by the forecasters at the WPC, and we're appreciative of the work that they do, but it's all about the analysis of all the different models and data, and we do that on our end too.
We certainly do. It still takes meteorologists to decipher the just millions of data points, right?
Dumb it down for us.
You got to
guys.
dumb it down.
Please
Weather
do
Prediction
that.
Center does that,
Yeah.
and we help to display that on the air.
The impacts of the forecast.
So true.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dick.